We're on the Dale Pangrac farm in Lewiston, Minnesota, and what you're going to see here shortly is the renovation with a Howard rotavator of 10-year-old CRP ground to organic grazing. This machine is set up with 6 blades per flange, wheels, and rear shield all the way up to best fulfill the killing objective. The grasses are rough grasses, whatever survives 10 years of CRP. And along the fence line, you'll see where sumac has grown up into the field from the perimeter. You can't see them very well, but there are electrical fences along that perimeter. Actually, it's a fiberglass pole with a single line because he's already grazing this field. But the sumac has just been allowed to grow up in the pasture area, and what you'll see before we're all done is 3 trips of the rotavator. Each trip is successfully deeper for 2 reasons. Number one, to bring the brush on the surface that we've cut loose into contact with more soil, and the other reason for going deeper is to get to the roots. The roots of this brush are deeper than the roots of the grass. Now the rest of the field will be rotavating only once, although there are just a tremendous amount of gopher mounds and anthills out there. To fulfill our objective, all we'll have to do is 1 pass on the grass, but here where the sumac is, we'll be making 3 passes. Now you might ask, why don't we go deeper in 1 pass, the first pass? Well, the reason is that we don't know about stones out here, and if we're going to find some stones and rocks, we want to find them going shallow to begin with. That little cloud of dust you just saw would have been an anthill or a very large gopher mound. Notice how the rotavator is walking itself up over the gopher mounds, and keep an eye on the tractor, the front axle. There's some gopher mounds right there in front. If you watch the tractor and the front axle, you'll see how much that tractor's bouncing around, especially in this sequence. Watch the tractor walk up over that large gopher mound, and the rotavator redistribute that pile over the field. You'll notice here that it's light. The surface is light in color compared to where we'll make the 3rd pass with the rotavator where the sumac is, simply because we've not diluted the root mass with soil. We've kept it near the surface to get as good a kill as we possibly can. When you're on the rotavator, 1 wheel is always on the worked level ground, the other wheel is on the uneven ground. It's just the way it is. There's no way to really eliminate that. We've tried wheels on the front of the machine, and that causes other problems, other issues. This is still the first pass through the sumac. Again, we're not going as deep as we eventually will in the 3rd pass because we're still searching for stones. I've got a separate video on the rotavator working amongst stones, rocks, and stumps, and what you'll learn with that video is how to avoid problems. And one of the way you avoid problems is never go any deeper than you have to. Well, here we will be going deep where the sumac is to get the roots. We just want to make sure that we're going to be encountering a lot of stones in that first trip. This now represents the 2nd trip through the sumac. We've adjusted the depth to go slightly deeper. Plus, even without adjusting the depth, the wheels are allowed to sink deeper into the soft soil automatically, allowing the blades to till deeper. But this is the second pass. There's a fiberglass rod to the left. And with each successive pass, we'll get darker. There wasn't a lot of grass growing in here where the sumac was. So the grass area will remain lighter because it's only one pass. It'll be darkest where we made the 3 trips over the sumac ground. The reason is, as I mentioned earlier, is that we're going deeper there, and we've made 3 trips. And by going deeper, we bring more soil into the equation. We're going deep to not only get to the roots, to kill the roots, tear the ever-loving daylights out of them, but then also to dilute the material on the top. Notice that contrast between the second pass on the sumac ground to the right and then the lighter ground to the left, which represents one pass in the ground that was grass only with the gopher mounds and anthills. This is now the third pass, and once again you'll see that it's darker than the first pass and the second pass. Now nothing was picked up because he was not going to make hay on this ground. The decision was made not to pick anything up. The drill handled this area very nicely, so it just was 3 trips of the rotavator on the sumac ground. He picked up nothing, and then the drill was able to go over the brush, and he had good seed soil contact. So all the objectives were obtained, doing really as little as possible. In an organic situation where you cannot use a burn down or brush killers, the use of a no-till pasture drill would be just useless here, because the drill itself will not kill anything. You might get seed soil contact, but by virtue of not killing anything, you're just not going to have much to show for your efforts. Here, Dale is cleaning up the headland, running along the fence row, and he'll probably make two trips in that direction. Now he's working the long way of the field. This is finishing up the third trip along where the sumac was. Notice how much more evenly the machine is running because the gopher mounds are now gone. Again, this whole area now represents 3 trips. 3 trips to go deep enough to destroy the root structure and to bury some of the brush that was above the ground level into the soil to start the decomposition process and give us good seed soil contact with the drill. Here's Dale admiring his work. Again, notice the color contrast. The darker area in front represents 2 or 3 passes. The lighter ground in the back represents just 1 pass, and then that compared with the untilled ground. We're now back into CRP ground that's not been grazed. We're going a little bit faster now. Dale feels more comfortable. Right now we're going from ungrazed to grazed ground. But both areas have to be leveled in order for the drill to perform properly. But Dale feels that 1 speed faster is satisfactory to fulfill the objective.
We are on the Dale Pangrek farm in Lewiston, Minnesota. This is the site where in the spring of 1995 a Howard rotavator was used on some 9-year-old CRP ground that was brome grass, gopher mounds, and anthills. And what you see out here is a beautiful stand of clover and brome grass, where this ground was rotavated once, in some areas twice because the ground was so uneven. And in some areas where some sumac had grown in from the primitive field, like this area here on the right along the road. This is actually an area that was rotavated 3 times in sumac that was probably 8 to 12 feet tall. And because we were going very shallow, we didn't disturb a lot of the soil, left a lot of the residue on the surface. We got deep enough to root out the sumac roots and kill the sumac without turning the soil over, leaving all the soil biology in the right place. As you can see, this is a beautiful stand of clover and brome. A lot of milk out here, it just hasn't gone through the animal yet. This is an area where the sumac was very dense to the right of the electrical fence until we went through it 3 times the rotavator. And then they seeded brome and clover. And all that's here that would give you any idea that sumac had once been here is some of the twigs laying around in the ground. And there's some right in there. Here's some.
This is another part of the Dale Pangrac farm. This is CRP ground. It's been idle for over 10 years, and what you see here is our effort to level the field. It's predominantly rough grasses, gopher mounds, anthills. No brush out here, just all grass. So this, what you see is 1 pass of the rotavator, and then it will be drilled and then reseeded. But please watch the tractor and notice how the tractor's bouncing around. That's because of all the gopher mounds. Now, if you tried going faster, you could, but it's just too rough of a ride, too hard on the equipment. But as long as you've got to go slow with the tractor, so your ears won't be bouncing off the glass, the rotavator makes an outstanding tool to do the job right in 1 pass. We're not missing anything. We're knocking down every single gopher mound, anthill, getting deep enough to fulfill the killing objective.
We're still on the Dale Pangrac farm, and this is one of those fields that was in the CRP program for 10 years. It was brome grass, gopher mounds, anthills. What you see out here is a beautiful stand of clover with brome that is the result of basically 1, in some cases 2 trips of the rotavator, and then he drilled the clover into the brome. That rotavator did a beautiful job at killing some of the brome, leveling the field, and making for very good seed-soil contact to germinate the clover. Again, he's a milker, an intensive rotational grazer, and he will bring his cows out here when it fits into his grazing rotation.